Evening, folks. Prep Rebel Actual here. Now, I'm going to apologize to beginning right here because I've been trying for the last 2 days to post my video, my water video for Preparedness Month, and I've been getting nothing but grief. I put a community post up stating why and what was going on. But I'm going to try this again. So, my first question with regards to water, and water is a prepper's number one most important prep. We can live without food for 3 weeks. We can live without air for about 3, maybe 4 minutes, right? But water, of which we are mostly composed of, we can live without water for 3 days and then we're done. That's it. We start going downhill really fast. So as long as everybody understands that, because those are the facts of nature and those are the facts of life. It's just the way it is, and it's been proven. Okay? We're going to go from here, and this is an exercise in figuring out, as a prepper, exactly how much water we actually need. Each one of us is different. Each one of our situations is different. We all have different amounts of family that we're looking after, or put it into a mag. Do it that way. The numbers will change. So you have to make sure that you have the correct information, okay? The correct information about water. Because if we are going to survive, we need to know exactly how much water we are going to require in order to get through an extended shit hits the fan situation. All right. Now, I'm going to go through a few things here. Let's start with my first question. And I put my first question to Google, and this is what it came up with, is what does a U.S. gallon of water actually weigh? That was my first question, and I wrote it down. So I get the response. Oh, hang on a second. I got to let Co outside. Okay, so my first response that I got. There you go. Go outside, girl. Go check it out. My first response from Google was this. A U.S. gallon of water weighs approximately 8.34 pounds at room temperature, so around 62 degrees Fahrenheit, or for those of us on the centigrade scale or Celsius side of it, 17 degrees Celsius. This standard weight is based on the U.S. gallon being defined as exactly 231 cubic inches. And the measurement is taken under the standard atmospheric pressure. The precise weight can actually vary slightly depending on the temperature and the purity. For instance, enough. Mix. For instance, the water at its densest point, so 4 degrees Celsius or 39.2 degrees Fahrenheit, weighs about 8.34 pounds per gallon. While warmer water, which expands, will weigh slightly less. Right? Some sources cite a more precise figure of 8.3454 pounds per gallon at 62 degrees Fahrenheit. This is what Google has said. All right. So, a U.S. gallon of water weighs 8.34 pounds. Get your calculators out. Okay, at this point. Now, the standard water container that we all get at the hardware stores or the camping stores or whatever is 5 gallons, or 23 whatever liters, right? So 5 gallons US. 5 gallons US at 8.34 pounds equals 41.7 pounds. Okay, 41.7 pounds, so 42 pounds. Write that down in your little notebook because it's important. We're going to add all of this stuff up. 41.7 or 42 pounds, rounded up. That's just the water, not including the bucket or the container. So you can look at 45 pounds, probably closer to 48 pounds or maybe 50 pounds, depending on what the container is made of. So there's 50 pounds. Let's just round it up to 50 pounds, okay, for a 5-gallon container. Let's round it up to 50 pounds for this experiment. All right. Now, my next question to Google and to the internet was question number 2. What does FEMA, our friends in the government, FEMA, recommend for people to store for an SHTF situation or for an emergency? And what I got back was this. FEMA recommends storing at least 1 gallon of water per person per day for an emergency. Okay, 1 gallon of water per person per day for the emergency. How long do we know that that emergency is going to last? We don't. How long do we think the emergency is going to last? We have no clue, right? But FEMA is saying 1 gallon of water per day per person for an emergency. Now, for the duration, FEMA suggests storing a minimum of a 2-week supply of water for each member of your family. Each member of your family. This is 1 gallon of water per day per person in your family, your particular family. While a 3-day supply is considered a minimum essential amount, FEMA's guidelines and guidance emphasizes the importance of a 2-week supply to ensure adequate hydration, food preparation, and hygiene needs during a prolonged emergency. What the hell is a prolonged emergency? How long? We don't know. Look at New Orleans. Look at New Orleans when the hurricane came through, when Katrina came through. How long were all those people stuck in the Superdome? How long were those people stuck where they had almost nothing? And they had to rely on what? Seriously, think about this. Okay? So, 1 gallon of water per person per day. All right, this is the key here. One person, 1 gallon, 1 day. And that is to cover your cooking, your hygiene, and, hydration. Hydration, food preparation, and hygiene. So that's brushing your teeth. That's cooking. That's drinking. That's bodily functions. Okay, now think about this. 1 gallon of water weighs how much? 8.34 pounds. 8.34 pounds for a family of 2, according to FEMA. So that's, say 18 pounds of water a day. Okay, hear me out. 18 pounds of water a day for 3 days. 18 times 3 is what? Let's figure it out. 18 times 3 equals 54 pounds of water. 54 pounds of water. So that's how many jugs? How many 5-gallon jugs of water? Right? 5 gallons equals what? 5 times 8.334 equals 41 pounds, right? So 42 pounds. 42 pounds. So we're going to round this up to, plus the container is 50 pounds, right? And they're saying for 2 people for 3 days is a gallon per day, because I'm going with a 2-person family because that's what I have. So that's 100 pounds of water a day, basically, for 3 days. So that's 300 pounds of water for 3 days. For 2 weeks or 3 weeks, what was it they said here? A 2-week supply. Okay, so that's 14 days, right? 14 equals 700 pounds of water. Basically, 100 pounds of water for 2 weeks for 2 people, right? That's split in half, so that's 700 pounds of water. 700 pounds of water is how many containers, right? Hold on just 1 second, because this is going to be important. For most of us, a container of water is going to be, oh, I should have brought this one at a time, not 2 at a time. But for each of us, all right, and you can see this, right, behind me. This is 5 gallons of water, or 23 liters of water, right? So that's 50 pounds. Or, if you look at it from a different perspective, but the same amount, this, right? This is 5 gallons, or 23 liters, or 50 pounds. Okay, you got your calculators ready? One of these is 5 pounds. 5 pounds is how much per day? Really, think about it. For 1 pound, or for 1 gallon, this should last you 5 days, according to FEMA. According to FEMA, this should last you 5 days for 1 person. How many of these, or the blue ones, do you need for 14 days, which is what FEMA suggests? How many of those do you need for 14 days per person? Right? Think about it. Get your calculator out and start doing the numbers, because what they're telling us is that, oh, you can survive on a gallon of water a day. Survive? Yeah, okay. I'll accept the word survive, but there is no bloody way that 1 gallon of water per person per day is going to sustain us in an emergency. With all of the crap that's going on right now, with all of the BS that's going on right now, if we had a full-on SHTF situation happen right now, and we end up actually going to war somewhere, right? Or having war on our own ground. 1 gallon of water a day ain't going to cut it. Because you have to take into effect 3 things. Well, 4 or 5 things actually. Food, hydration, and cleaning. Add on to that, if you're in a war situation, wound irrigation, health, and ad nauseum. I mean, it goes on and on and on. The water is most critical, right? You can start adding it up by pounds, and then you can start adding it up by gallons. But if you add it up by pounds, here's the next question that I have for you. How are you going to store so many pounds of water, and what are you going to store it in for a prolonged period of time? Say that prolonged period of time isn't 2 weeks. Say it is a year. Say it's 2 years. Say it's even 6 months. Figure that out. How much water do you need? And then take a look at your preps and take a look at your storage and say to yourself honestly, how much water do I actually have for my family? Now, for me, a family of 2. For some of us, a family of 4. For some of us, a family of 3. For some of us, a family of 8. How much water per family do we actually need to keep stored? And how are we going to store it safely? These are the questions that go through my head every single night. And these are the questions that keep popping up to me when I'm looking at my preps. I have, of those blue containers, right now I have 6 of them. Of the green containers, I have 12 of them. Right? So 6 and 12 is what? 18? 18 fives is what? Let's figure it out. Because they're all 5-gallon jugs, right? Clear this out. 18 times 5 equals, I have 90 gallons of water. 90 gallons of water would, according to FEMA, last me 90 days. 90 days is 3 months, right? Each one of those containers, right? I have 18 of them. 18 times 50 pounds equals 900 pounds of water, including the container, right? So less than 900 pounds of water. 900 pounds of storage of water. 900 pounds, where are you going to store that? If we're looking at a year, and this was for me, 3 months for one person. For one person, right? 900 pounds. For a year, that's 365 days, right? That's 365 days. So let's go there. 365 times 8.34 pounds equals 3,044.1 pounds. That's what you've got to store in order to hold the water. Have you got a house that's going to be able to store that? Have you got a floor or a structure that's going to be able to hold 3,044 pounds of water alone? Right? This is part 1 of this video, because I'm not going to go into question number 3 until part 2. And I'll have a few more questions after that, because I'm sure that a bunch of you are going to bring up other questions, other information. I know that a lot of you live off the grid, And that's cool. You've got it figured out for yourselves. You have to keep in mind you, your family. So for me, it's 2, but it's actually 3 because it's 2 plus my dog. And so that's a family of 3. Animals count. And if you're on a farm, the animals that you raise, horses, cows, pigs, sheep, whatever, goats, doesn't matter, they all require water as well. Think about that. The government already knows this shit. He who controls the water controls the world. I'm not about to let the government control me or my world. But I have to figure out a way to store all of that so that my family of 3, myself, my wife, and my dog, that's a family of 3. Myself, my wife, and my dog can survive for an extended period of time in which I look at it as a minimum of a year. A year. All right? 365 days at 8.34 pounds. That's for one person. So that gives me 3,044 pounds basically. Let's erase that. Let's go 3,044 times 3. Equals. That's almost 9,500 pounds of water alone. 9,500 pounds of water. In this house that I'm living in, my floor would not ever be able to support that. Not in the area where I have my storage for my pantry. There's no bloody way. Folks, this is a real eye-opener to think about. Think about it in terms of what you need for your family. Think about it in terms of how much water you need per person, per family. And we're just, this first part is just going with the 1 gallon per person per day. The next video is going to go where preppers actually think we should be. And I, being a prepper and a survivalist and a thrivalist, we need to know this stuff. We need to be able to prepare for this stuff. Take your family of 3 and add them into a mag. Say you've got 40 people in a mag, or 60 people in a mag, or even 20 people in a mag. How much water do you actually need? Right? Water is key. Water is the key to life. Air, yeah, we all know about air. Air can be taken away from us in an instant. Food can be taken away from us, and we can yet still survive for 3 weeks without it. And we can still hunt and search and look for it and find it. Water is the key of everything. As scary as it sounds, water is the key to our lives. And the government, those pricks up there in Washington and in Ottawa or wherever the hell your government is, they know this. They know this. And they are trying their damnedest to try and control it so that they have control over us. You and I. Are you going to let them do that? I know I'm certainly not going to let them do that. And this is just part 1 of this video. And I'm wondering why, oh yeah, well, why is YouTube and all those guys not letting me post this? I wonder why. And yet I'm starting to get emails from our friends at FEMA saying, well, you know, if you're passing on bad information, we might have to just sort of not let this be allowed. You know what, FEMA? Here, stick this where it belongs and ride on it for a while, because you ain't going to get me. Prep Rebel out.